So, as if it should be the English, first of all, thank you very much for all the organizers, committee, and for all of the participants for being here online and have the patience to keep their attention to any topic, especially like that. My is the ancient identity, what is inside, upon after what is inside Torah under gOy and what is inside Arya under Rīģveda. Let's start from this criteria of identity and how it works, the sources. And Rīģveda, both are taken only from two sources, Torah as the most ancient text we know from this tradition, from the Hebrew tradition, and Rīģveda is the most ancient Aryan tradition with this name inside. Both sources have researched independently without any connection, but after the same methodology, which is shown, in fact, during the text I have sent previously. I think that anybody who wanted to do it did it as if it was possible to download it from Telegram channel. We have, or you have organized definitely. Thank you very much again for this. Together with this presentation, so this PowerPoint file is also accessible, I think. So you can just trace it and see what's written inside. The book of Torah, Sептуагінти and Вульгати are taken both for review of their understanding of the old Hebrew notion of gOy and Torah concept of gOy with its Sептуагінти and Vulgate versions are compared to Rīģvedic Arya, which is actually the basic of what we have. Now we just a quick look on what's inside the basic notions as if it's known, as they are known actually from etymology and other semantical research is done without any text connection. The Semitic origin is approximately many community alliance of people in the same territory. It's probably leads to the common Afroasiatic notion after military, which might mean alliance of people living together of the same or have the same mutual economy. And the semantics known usually from the, any sources we can use, which one which predates, one which is behind, a body or torso, aliens, a group, like is the basic before we are going inside text. So this is for the text and what we can see from there with the references from the text notions. From the text you can download the paper I sent. You can see the originals with their parallels in different languages. This is from the Hebrew version. And in fact, we have these positions shown there. Origin from common male ancestor, origin from common female ancestor, common resident territory, worshipping of definite gods, following the definite rites and laws, uniting themselves into a form of community, common language. This is the items we can extract from the text with the shown positions, with the shown residing positions there. Therefore, with regarding the etymology and semantics, we can present the pre-Deuteronomy gOy form in the following concept: a group of alliance of people who differs from all the rest after the following features. Origin from common male ancestor, different from the ancestor of those who did not belong to this alliance. Worshipping of definite gods, common resident territory, origin of common female ancestor. This is the pre-Deuteronomy gOy notion with the adding the Deuteronomy, following the definite rights and laws. If the people does not do it, it cannot even exist. Alliance of number of human beings, common language. Regarding the only mentioning for position 4 and 7, which is actually the previous one, I can show with like for origin from common female ancestor. This is only one, and their common language is also the only one. zero connection to etymology of both will lead definitely to probability of optional criteria, not the obligational and mandatory ones. Well, this is actually the conclusion of it. Here you can see the summary of occasions and status of this position, of this criterion. After the text, origin from common male ancestor, which is absolutely evident thing, the main fact, in fact, the most often and probably the most crucial, the crucialist point we have in the text, because of actually the start of the first testament with the Abraham God, from the God, and the agreement between them, in fact, the common resident territory, which is not often, in fact, but mostly after the etymological, semantical notion, we can post it as the mandatory because they have more than one. Aliens from number of human beings, which is actually the connection between the basic semantical notion and etymological notion, and also with the mentioning inside the text, worshipping of definite gods, which is not from, of course, from not the semantics, but very often, and of course we understand why. Again, is part of the testament. Also following the different kinds of laws, which is connected definitely to the previous one. And we do have, we can actually constate or constitute it as the mandatory thing. Origin of common female ancestor, which is not absolutely understandable mostly. And usually when we are talking about things, this option is not expectable from many researchers, unfortunately. And it is absolutely clear why. We will see it in the following pages, because it's the only one mentioning. The problem is, in fact, that no one other tradition outside of Hebrew text show it like their real idea or real criterion, because in all the other traditions, these grammatical construction has been changed, have been changed definitely in all the traditions. The common language, which is optional and which is not from, in fact, not so much from Torah, only once. Well, when we go to a Septuagint translation, or Septuagint version, it's not complete translation, of course, and even from the passages I've sent, you can see this. We cannot say it about the translation, literary translation, definitely not. But well, we know for sure that it was done by Hebrew authorities, and there is a very good reason to think that Septuagint was made like some sort of interpretation of the text for Hellenic population of the time, because of probability of misunderstanding of the text with many people who are not involved in so much Hebrew tradition, language tradition, and mostly they use probably Greek instead. So that's why Septuagint is in life. So the only difference is that besides the one mentioning of laos, which is definitely the classical Greek form, as if it would be done by the Greeks, it might be the laos would be enlarged, in fact. But for this tradition, we can think that ethnos correlation is quite reasonable and very grounded thing. It means that the very notion matches the mentioning criteria for the composers, especially ethnos, not just like Laos, that was used for different notions like Ami, for instance, Am with the variants. However, the etymology, the probable foundation of its basic understanding for ethnos is quite different from that of gOy. Well, here, as you can see, that what we think or what we have from the studies of etymology known for now, for the first one is the German classical research for this. Well, and the other one is the thing that might be the reason why they used ethnos as the strict form for gOy translation, but not using the different things or different words they use usually in their Greek tradition, with a correlation to genos and etnios. It comes from the opposition of vowels of O, E, and A. This is definitely known enough in Greek things. I'm just mentioning this. So anyway, gOy is ethnos. And this gives the same identification criteria for ethnos in Septuagint and for gOy and Torah, except for the origin of common female ancestor. That's what I told already, as the female gender has been changed to masculine gender. Unfortunately, that's it. And you can see it from the original if you open the file I sent with the materials. Yet Vульгата follows Септуагінти, excluding this origin. But Vульгата does not follow the Septuagint principle one-to-one and use two instead for one for gOy, gens, and nation. Well, and this is the Vульгата situation, all the same without definitely female gender, female ancestor, which is not acceptable for many reasons. I would not, it's out of the discussion now, but if you have the question, I will try to answer why it is so, but still it is not inside the topic, just the similar thing except for the female line. And with the option of nation, or natio, that one for gens, this is for natio. Well, only two positions definitely, but in correlation with the previous one, we can make the common field. Origin of gOy, general review. gOy of Torah had probably been the notion of self-identification. No, we can almost be sure about it because both things, like Torah itself and Septuagint, had been done by Hebrew authorities. If anybody does not match the mandatory criteria for that, one cannot belong to the unity, nor, since Deuteronomy at least, form of any other similar unity. This is something that was actually pronounced by Anna before in the previous talk. I think it is exactly the continuation of this principle. Not belong to that unity, not belonging to any other similar unity. You cannot even compare. Ethnos of Septuagint, despite of reasonably different understanding from the point of view of etymology and semantics, has been used as an exact equivalent for Torah, gOy, except for one criterion, origin from common female ancestor. That is how it works. Vульgata compares follows Septuagint in excluding the origin from common female ancestor, but did not see their own unity as the gOy full equivalent notion. Vульgata translates gOy both as gens and as nation ideas as an equivalent of common general identity notions upon the origin and face. Well, some words about Riґведи Arya is probably a derivative from Arya Hospital. Whatever you see, you can see here the traditional vision of its so-called etymological thinking. Exposed by first of all Germans, of course, also supported by several, well, English language, let's say, researchers, and without any serious discussion from outside. Semantically related to Arya and non-Arya, both because of this prothesa A, except of it, Arya itself can give an example of ambivalent lexicon, which is written almost in every second, probably research regarding this. And in many cases, with this notion, doubling of this notion. Well, the following way we can define the Arya as a global cosmic level because of the text. And again, I'm referring to the text I sent. There are the examples with the how we extract this and how we conclude this. Global cosmic level adherence of Indra opposing to Dasa and to Varna, those who call themselves as men, for whom Indra had performed his actions, adherence of light and adherence of Vishnu and Surya. At human social level, which is most interesting for us in this case, valorous soldier, winner of Dasa's possessing wealth and good horses. Those who opposed Dasa and somebody else, including some areas, and found themselves in war with them. Adherents of Indra and his assistants, Agni, Vayu, Varun, and Yushas. The humans dominating over Dasas. Those humans who confess a definite religion, excluding the worshipping of particular gods. A social concept of Arya, we can conclude from the text, those humans who perform the particular rites, those humans who are at war against Dasa to get wealth and land, those humans who are at war against Dasa with the help of rituals, those humans who unite themselves into a form of community. And here we can see the comparison in between the criteria extracted from the text, confessing of different religion, worshiping particular gods, which is both, plus both are presenting in or existing inside gOy and Arya, performing particular rituals, both are in uniting themselves into a form of community, both are in warring against all others to help rituals to gather wealth and land. It's interesting. A lot of things are written about it in Torah, but not connecting to the gOy. gOy is not the battle union or battle unit to fight against. It's interesting thing, but as a gOy, it is not placed somehow. So it's minus in gOy and absolutely plus in Arya, definitely. Origin of common ancestor is the opposite side. This is one the crucial thing I think I expect. Origin from common ancestor is the big major difference in between, because Torah is insisting on this position, while Rigveda is not completely not denying the common origin, despite the fact that it was done later in Indian tradition. Rigveda is definitely out of it. Common residential territory or resident territory, if for gOy it is optional thing, for Arya it is not. In fact, during the Vedic period, definitely not, both for common language. I can even it's difficult for me to understand how it can work for the common language, even for Hebrew situation at the time, because we know in later tradition, even for Hebrew text, there are a lot of interferences from the side of Aramaic and other languages, and the Septuagint itself with definitely the proof of difficulty of understanding of languages, their identity criterion. Otherwise, we cannot explain a little bit understandable why they did the Septuagint translation at all. Basic conclusions we can do. Torah, gOy, and Vedic Arya identity principles are quite different. 4 of 7 are similar, partly. The main difference had been laid among mandatory issues, ignoring of origin from common ancestor at all, the presence of war against of all others to help of rituals with the wealth and land, among Arya criteria, which is not inside gOy, despite what we know about what they did in fact after Torah text, but not with the gOy unit again. Torah, gOy, and Vedic Arya identity principles were compatible to the extent, and they were able to make difference among the others with this, very strict differences, in fact, that we definitely know. And the final conclusions we can do. both gOy and Tora and Arya Rіґведи probably been quite different notions for identification with their own criteria. It means that we cannot use one for the other, and we cannot say that there is the universal thing for both traditions, and I would say that for any other traditions also, that we can use from their outside information. So it means that we cannot use some sort of global criteria set for any identification if we are going into the ancient society. And here is the very good example on why it is not working like that. Ethnos of Sептуагінти, despite of reason different understanding from the point of view of etymology and semantics, we don't know, in fact, how strong was the influence of both the things during the composing of Septuagint, since they were not even Greeks, I think. But that had been used as an equivalent for gOy of Torah, except for one criteria, origin from common and female ancestor. That was not completely understandable for them, and probably not even understandable for the Hebrew authorities during the time already. And now I'm not in position to say when they deny this principle, when they denied this principle, well, and how they rejected it, but well, this is how it is. What we can see, Vulgate composers follow Septuagint, but translated gOy both as gens and nature, and is double equivalent from common general identity notion upon origin and face that they did because they considered them it like an important thing probably, and it was better for them to understand what's inside there. Area criterion on war and the help of rituals to gather wealth in land and absence of common residential territory without the bearers, Persians, and probably Mitannians earlier, despite even the Indian situation, installed their political domination abroad. Aryan political domination took place with transforming of conquered lands after their criteria, partly, at least, because it did not demand absolute conversion, itself organizing after their own unity as it was marked in Deuteronomy, which means that Aryans allowed their subdues to follow their own rules inside religious things, and it was not the barrier to be the part of the bigger unity under Aryan dominance, which is not even somehow understandable inside the Hebrew tradition. And what was actually depicted by Dr. Diaghilev before showed that it was completely misunderstandable for Hebrew tradition to even to allow any possibility of fluctuations inside their own religious things, despite of the using some other principles basically. But Aryan criteria does not demand on it even more. It's allowed to do it, to use different religious vision without being oppressed for it inside the bigger unity than their own. They are not Aryans, but they can follow their own rules. It can also be interesting to compare the reviewed identity principle with the other ancient peoples, but it really demands much more than we have here, and what I was able to do now. And I'm not so much in other texts to do the same comparison for now. So if anybody wants to do it to unite to these things and see how it works in different connections, in different texts, you are definitely welcome. And any contact from my side will be absolutely positive. Thank you very much. Thank you.